Hello and welcome to this, the Books Crypto Club weekly catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday the 17th of July 2022 and we are going to be talking about whatever people want to talk about, really. We hold these sessions every week, every Sunday at 7 p.m. UK BST. There is a link to them in the comments below. Do come and join us, come along, join the conversation, ask questions, share ideas, share knowledge. So sometimes we talk about cryptocurrencies, blockchain, DeFi, NFTs, DLTs, ICOs, STOs, lots and lots of letters, lots and lots of confusing things. It's really down to the audience as to what they find of interest. So let's see who's going to come and join us today. Lewis, hello.
Hello, hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for joining us. And Eric as well. It must be the middle of summer. Good afternoon, Eric. How are you today? I just heard
I'm
Eric.
very well, and how are you? And I apologise for you. How are you, Gary? You look fabulous.
Not bad, thanks. That's good. Yeah, how's the world then, Eric? Lots of interesting things going on.
Yes, I really can't grumble at the moment. Lots of interesting things, not least British politics, or is that slightly less interesting?
Yep. Yeah, that makes it kind of a bit.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I just want to check if you hear me.
we can hear you now. That's
Thank
good.
you.
Welcome aboard. Right.
Thank you.
So it says your name's blank. Is that right?
Sorry. My name is Mohini, and that's an email where I receive newsletters. Sorry, I should edit my name. Sorry about that.
It's okay, Mohini. Welcome aboard anyway.
Mahini, that was quite a cool statement. My name is blank. Own it. It was quite cool.
No wonder you didn't say hello.
It gets a little bit confusing. It's always a funny thing when we start these sessions and people are connecting and they always have connection problems and that kind of thing. So it's good to hear from you. And Adam, hello.
All right, Gary, how you doing, fella?
I'm good, thanks. I think Adam's got a t-shirt of the day on at the moment, looking at that.
Well, it's amazing what going to some of these crypto gaming conferences can get you in the freebie bags.
Yeah, so is that an NFT t-shirt?
I think it's a gaming thing. I haven't even properly looked at it. I just like the bright colours in this climate. It just it makes me look a little bit cooler in front of my.
You look fabulous in that, mate. You look fabulous.
Eric's going to run away to his wardrobe now to go and find something to compete.
Today I went in support of Japan. Very old T-shirt, maybe 20-year-old, something like that.
The thing I found about having tour t-shirts from rock bands and that it looks really cool at the time, but it suddenly makes you realize how old t-shirt is that you're wearing. So folks, welcome aboard anyway. Lewis as well. Sorry, I think I did say hello briefly, but welcome aboard. You're only registered earlier on today as well, so I guess you're a newish member to this kind of thing. Is that right?
Yeah, just looking forward to sort of meet some like-minded people and we'll see what happens from there.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, we may get a few more people joining us. You never really know at this time of year when it's a lovely sunny evening in England, which doesn't happen very often. But what we tend to talk about is whatever people want to talk about. So if we've got novices in the room who don't know much and want to ask some really basic questions like, do I have to buy a whole Bitcoin type thing? But they're always the fun and interesting ones. Or equally, I know we've got people with some expertise in the session as well. Eric is a rock star in the space. Lots of involvement in projects and initiatives and that kind of thing. And so sometimes people might want to share some things that they're working on as well. So it really is open for everyone to get out of it. Whatever. So probably Mahini, it might be a start to say, is there any question you have or anything that you'd like to share as we begin?
No, I just browsed the groups and I've been holding some Ethereum and waiting for the merger. I don't know what anyone thinks of that. Will we make a profit? Is anyone holding on? That's all I'm doing at the moment.
Because at the moment, later heard on the mergers that they said it was probably going to be the 17th September. I think was where they do the main merge. In terms of whether it'll affect prices or not, this is where I think there's a real disconnect, and correctly so, that there's no reason why prices should be affected by functionality. And so, even if it goes through the merge and then later on to proof of stake and various other things, it's quite likely that that is already built into the price of Ethereum as it is. So
Yeah.
it may not affect it. Longer term, I hope that it benefits. But anyone else got any thoughts on it? Open to offers on there.
I wouldn't feel qualified to give any sort of opinion on that. I just sense that at some stage the crypto market will bounce, and it'll be happy days for everybody that stayed in. It may not be today or next month or the month after that, but it'll happen.
What I'm seeing as well is that whilst prices aren't necessarily reflecting a good place right now, market activity continues to grow. So you look at the amount of trading that's going on, that's growing. You look at the daily payments that are going through the various networks, they're growing. You look at the functionality that's coming up, and you look at Cardano, Solana, and all that. There's lots of things happening in this space. And, Adam, we were joking about NFTs. The whole NFT space continues to grow. And I think everyone's using the wrong metric about where we are in the whole crypto and blockchain space. I think everyone's so focused on prices, they're not actually noticing that there's a lot of amazing stuff going on, which will then affect prices, hopefully. We'll see. Hey, JT, good evening.
Hey. Wow, some familiar faces here today.
There is no escape. Well, one day JT will show his face again, but for now he's got his avatar instead.
Eric loves my face, don't you, mate?
I hate to imagine we're looking at like Adam and Eric's t-shirts. I hate to imagine what JT's wearing in the hot weather. So probably
nothing.
Probably
that's why the camera is not on.
Exactly. So Mahani, coming back to your question, really, I don't know if anyone else has got any thoughts in terms of the upcoming merge on, at the moment, I think it was announced the 17th September for Ethereum. I don't know if anyone's got any other thinking at the moment as to whether that's even likely to affect the price, to be honest. Go on, JT wants to say something.
Well, I don't believe it's going to happen. So
what the merge?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like the Ethereum devs are well known for keeping with the dates that they propose. So I don't think there is even. I'm not going to talk about any prices or affect price because I just don't think it's going to happen.
Okay. Well, it's interesting that normally what happens, and I was a dev many years ago, and I've been a project manager many times, and I've seen this kind of thing. Normally people don't quote dates, they quote timescales. And so it's going to be in 18 months. And it's an ever evolving 18 months type thing. So it's interesting that they actually came up with specific dates at the, was it the Ethereum developer call a couple of days ago, I think. So we'll see what comes from that. Hey, Jeff, good to see you join us.
Bonjour, how are you today, Gary?
We're good.
Good afternoon, everyone.
We've been comparing t-shirts. I think, but I didn't notice actually Peter's joined as well. Peter's got a cool looking t-shirt on. Maybe we should all have NFT t-shirts. And there we go. Jeff's got the bit of merchandise with the branding and this kind of thing. Oh, is it? That's not your brand, is it? Or is it? Anyway, we're just talking generally about Ethereum, and at the moment they've quoted on one of their YouTube dev meetings about how they're planning on doing the merge on 17th September. And just kind of pondering for everyone, really, is that likely to, first of all, happen? And secondly, if it does, is it likely to have an impact on price? I suspect it won't, because I think these things are already baked into the price.
Well, yeah, I'd agree with it already kind of priced in. I mean, all the halvings are usually priced in up to 2 years beforehand, regardless of any short-term price action. Ethereum is the interesting one because while everyone's expecting the merge and everyone kind of understands post-merge, it's not the first time it's been delayed. So if you try and associate price action with this merge that should happen in September, I still think there's a lot of risk that it could just be delayed by X. It could be a month, it could be another 6, It's one of those things. I think, you know, in terms, well, the way I'm looking at the stuff on the merge at the moment, the research I'm doing is, can they afford? I mean, they, as in Ethereum, can Ethereum afford another delay like this? You know, they need to move towards proof of stake sooner than later, not only to unlock the ETH rewards and the other part of the DeFi space, but, you know, maintain pace with every other POS, you know, that are getting more and more liquidity day by day. I mean, we're seeing it even on our exchange now that people are depositing tokens on multiple chains that sometimes we don't support. And we have to do a lot of work to get those funds back to people. But there's a lot of activity on AVAX and Solana and Cardano and etc. with USDC, USDT tokens, that kind of stuff. And they don't have a choice. They have to catch up.
Yep.
We will know by Wednesday, you know, with this CC in Paris. There's
yeah, is that this week? Is it?
Vital, yeah,
Yep.
it's this week. Vital is going to be there, so they're going to announce a few things for sure, you know. So by Wednesday we will know.
Cool. Like an
I was thinking about going there, but I mean, 40 degrees in Paris, you know, I'm not going to be there. I canceled my trip, you know.
Don't worry, 40 degrees in the UK means you won't get to leave the
Yeah,
country in the
but,
first place.
No, the trains won't
Have you
run
been
because
in Paris? Have you been in Paris in summer?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you
Yeah.
don't want to be there. Trust me.
Don't worry, the whole of the European network will collapse with the temperatures for a few days.
Yeah.
We can't cope with it. So. Okay, so Mahini, maybe that kind of answers a little bit your question that we don't know, but we've got a range.
Some people think the price will drop after the merger because it's like an anticlimax. People know now it's come, they'll just sell it.
Yeah. I think there's certainly the possibility of that. And as we were saying before, these kind of things, because they're known before the event, are already priced in to, you know, the market rates and that. So it could well be afterwards there's a sell-off, but there shouldn't be any reason why there would be for this one. But we'll see. You know, we're all looking in the looking glass or whatever, trying to work out the future, and none of us really know. So
I think anyone that's long-term ETH is not going to be a seller. I think any short-term sellers are going to be the ones that are, you know, trading that price action like they trade the news. So it's, you know, I'm a digital hoarder. I'm not really a seller. But the people that do trade it short-term might trade it on price action with leverage. So you might see a large spike in liquidations. Is probably the only prediction you can really make.
yeah, and it's interesting as well, looking at the market more widely. I was taking a look at Bitcoin earlier on. I see that's gradually creeping up at the moment because it was languishing around about the 19,000 mark. I think it's up to 21.5, 21.7 or something at the moment. And I've held this view for a little while that it's been it's been channeling for a while. And I think it's actually just going to incrementally just step up and step up and step up. And no one's going to kind of notice it. And then all of a sudden people go, oh, it's gone through 22, I'll put some money in.
There's a magic line, 22.4, 22.5. Yeah.
Okay.
Majority of guys I know is if it goes above to 22.5, they will go all in.
Yeah. So this is what I like about JT. He's always very precise as to things like entries and exits. So you can always hold him on that. He's never right, but he's always very precise about it.
Yeah.
I admire precision, but I prefer accuracy.
So
you always have to tempt. If you don't, you know, you're never gonna make it. You know, if you're all waiting for everyone else, you know, you have to get in first.
So you're talking ideally around the last local high, or the last little mini high that was about a month ago. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Peter, you might have some thoughts. Are you looking at what's going on in the market at the moment?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're expecting to zigzag along as the capitulation carries along, and the new supply of buy forward sellers, gradually gets eaten up by the long-term holders. So there could be, something else that comes along and potentially forces the price down further, but you only know that when the event happens.
So are you seeing the wallet holders consolidating in some way then? Or is it the opposite, that the older wallet holders are divesting?
Well, the older wallet holders, the kind of But at the moment, it's whales and shrimp that are kind of accumulating.
They're all dormant, right? What was the Glassnode data showing that the most
Yeah.
long-term wallets are all dormant right now? They're not in and out
Yeah.
of exchanges. They're just sitting tight.
Well, overall, there's kind of strong accumulation, very strong accumulation.
Yeah, I'm looking at that as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because at the moment, it looks like a final capitulation, but again, something else could come down and cause another sell-off.
So it's another thing that we really don't know.
Yeah,
There's not
I
much
mean,
more
we don't
to-
know if it's the bottom until the next bull market is kind of really getting into swing.
Okay.
So it could be the bottom, it might not be the bottom.
See,
Yeah.
the other thing as well is that everyone keeps looking at charts of the cryptocurrencies, and they're not necessarily looking at what else is going on in the market. So if we take a look at things like 3 Arrows, Celcius, this kind of things where there's filings for bankruptcy, there's some big players struggling, that kind of thing. I wonder if that is beginning to have a wider effect, and whether there'll be some sort of domino effect with that of a few big players going under. I don't know.
I mean, a lot of the effects should already be kind of reflected now in terms of forced selling or kind of the liquidity crunch as well from that. So a lot of the impact, it's still working its way through the system, but it shouldn't, unless another major domino falls that's kind of we don't currently know about, shouldn't be the cause of the next sell-off.
There's a potential too coming, there's a lot of chatter at the moment.
With which is that? So?
Well, I don't like to, I talk here before, you need to be careful because of there's a lot of FUD at the moment, and there's a few groups trying to push other people down, but there's a lot of conversation at the moment that crypto.com is kind of facing a few issues. I spoke with a few guys and they think it's total FUD, but you never know. When people start to talk to me about Celsius and Jump, everybody was telling me that I was crazy and said, well, there's a lot of chatter at the moment, So it's like you said, you never know, but you're absolutely right, Peter, we just need one of these and it's another domino effect. And then I don't think we have reached the bottom. I think there's a second wave coming, because sometimes it takes time to filter and to go through all of what has happened, and there's a later repercussion. It's kind of like an earthquake happens, and then later on you get these small little earthquakes,
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen. It might happen. I don't know.
What would be interesting would be it's not until these firms go under that you suddenly start appreciating just who some of the really big players are. And that's me saying that from someone who isn't actively involved in a lot of this stuff at times. What would be really interesting would be if anyone's actually done an analysis of who are the big players that can make a difference. Who could be the next dominoes that we need to be looking at. Whether it's exchanges like Coinbase or Binance or Crypto.com or any of the investment companies. Anyone got any thoughts of areas to watch out for?
I think it's these bigger hedge funds that I never heard of 3 Arrows Capital before all the stuff that kind of went on. And I don't think anyone really knew all of their counterparty exposure, how exposed they were to BlockFi and Celsius and Voyager all at the same time. And I think that stuff is the anti-transparent level of crypto that you're not going to know about. What about all these rumors about how, Terra Luna was always not protocol to start with, but that looked like a very, very targeted attack with as soon as someone found out, oh, there's a huge amount of Bitcoin propping up UST, let's try and get an OTC deal done and try and depeg it because that will destabilize X, Y, and Z. And that felt like some very, very smart people that have access to a lot of capital targeted Terra Luna and that whole ecosystem in a very, very smart way. And they knew exactly what to do and exactly how to do it. And they were able to borrow the capital to do it. So whether it was through, what was the story that was unsubstantiated, that BlackRock borrowed 100,000 Bitcoin from Gemini. great headline, but like, how do you prove any of that stuff?
Yep.
So I think when they say yes, there could be another downturn, I agree. How far down it goes, 10K Bitcoin, I don't see it. 15K definitely possible, but I think we're going to see another one of those like coordinated attack style vectors via a protocol that has a huge draining function that collapses the price, and you'll have one specific counterparty that's over leveraged. And that's exactly what Celcius was. They had 75% of their ETH locked up in ETH2, and they had more ST ETH exposure than they could ever sell it for. You know what I mean? So things like that, knowing how to find those exposure points, I think we'll see another targeted attack, and we'll see another big dip.
There's already some work going on, you know. I had a conversation recently with someone saying that is a potential attack coming on USDT, but they know it's not possible to do an attack on USDT. Well, what they will do is, a lot of people don't know this, yeah, but your USD Tether doesn't have the capacity to actually move more than $1 billion in one go in fiat, yeah. So by coming with lots of USDT, asking them to exchange for fiat, they're gonna start to some FUD saying they Tether has problems, you know, and then they're going to do attacks on other tokens, you know, to try to provoke another further dump of everyone dumping. So they're going to start. It's a coordinated attack and very complex, yeah.
Yeah, very complex. But people in the know that can find that stuff. You know, when that whole, what was that Bored Ape NFT? People borrowed what 5 or 10 apes from an NFT portal, got the tokens, and then a split second later sold them all back. And, you know, picked up a couple of 5, 10, 15 million worth of ape coins in a split second under everyone's nose. So there are smarter people out there that have the ability, that have the capital to do it. And you're right, you will see a coordinated attack like that. It's just knowing where the exposure points are. That's where the hardcore research comes from. Absolutely. And being on chain, the data is out there if you know how to link it together. I don't know how to do it, but I love reading about it.
Well, I think that's part of the problem. A lot of the stuff actually isn't on chain. And that would be the great thing.
Stuff, totally, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that actually, if it did adhere to the spirit of crypto and it was all trustless, decentralized, open, blah blah blah,
yeah,
then that'd be fantastic.
It's this, you know, like I said, not having the ability to deal with more than $1 billion a day. It's terrible, you know, for Tether, because they have like quite a lot, you know, in stable. So imagine the FUD that will cause to
do you think that's why USDC put out that recent audit of their cash reserves and how their liquidity is positioned? As last week they put out a report, didn't they?
Yeah.
Anti-FUD, so, getting ahead of the FUD.
It's all allegedly, like you say, Gary, allegedly are all of these Wall Street funds, you know, they just came to the space without more fees and some practices that they ever had over the years, and they are laughing big time at the moment, you know, allegedly, obviously, you know, it's very hard to prove, like Jeff said, you know, is it BlackRock? We don't know. Very simple, you know.
Right, I guess you're coming up against a group of people who've done this for careers in traditional financial services, of knowing how to play things, and they're just applying some of those techniques to what is a somewhat more naive and unregulated market.
Well, the ability to move capital around, like as soon as we had the ability of taking an asset on one exchange and moving it to another, that's something they've not had the ability to do in traditional markets ever. You know, you want to move a position out of your Hargrave Lansdowne and move it over to Ameritrade, you have to take that position in cash and reopen it somewhere else. You can't usually carry it across unless it's a particular type of instrument. Now you can take the equivalent US dollars and move it wherever you want instantaneously. That's a huge technological advantage, and they're able to dust off, you know, their algos and their strategies from 5-10 years ago that doesn't work anymore, and they work great in crypto. What was the DAS London event last year, this year, I can't remember, my days blur together. The last one in London recently, there was a fund in there and they trade 300 million a day on leverage on Doge, because the volume is there and the algo works great because it's got extreme volatility on short time frames, and that's how they they market make and high frequency trade. Didn't say what revenue and what edge they have, but that was the volume they're doing on a meme token across, I think they're doing it across 4 exchanges, but 300 million a day. And they're not a very big fund. I have, I think, 4 to 6 billion in assets or something like that. And 300 million of their volume a day comes out of a meme token. I thought that was impressive.
And I guess that's it. If they've got the ability to do the whole arbitrage play and run thing across the various exchanges, as you say.
Well, you know, the crypto and not being regulated and all that, you know, it's like a 12-year-old going to Alton Towers, you know, it's as simple as that.
So I was going to introduce something that Eric shared before in the chat, which is interesting. It's a link to an article which in some ways may sum up some of the things. I'll just share it now. Where it's saying that, you know, this fear and loathing of crypto could be an incredible gift to his firm. Eric, have you read the article? Can you pray see what they're saying? And Eric, I think Eric's still on mute.
I'm not sure whether Mark Andreessen sends something like that out, whether it's a message to his LPs not to panic, or whether he really thinks that. But I mean, you might think that I couldn't possibly comment, but it's interesting. But he's got some interesting stuff in there, which I like. I mean, we are buying in a dip now. As a fund, we're investing now because we think that probably in 5 years' time, the best value we will have created in these is in these like 2-3 years. So, and
exactly,
yeah, you know, you could have a point.
As the when in doubt, zoom out. I mean, are you willing to take a 5%, a 5K dip for potentially a 200-300K per token gain over the next 5-10? And that's where that's my message to people right now. Like, yeah, forget the short term.
Jeff, what are you seeing in terms of volume?
I can't share that because I'm not publicly traded. And you can acquire a deck if you want. We're seeing okay volume. We're definitely we see the same dip as everyone else. You know, there's definitely a reduction, definitely. And I actually had this question from an investor call the other day. Is like, you know, do you have any seasonality around your crypto volumes? I said, well, no, you see seasonality around, you know, Black Fridays and stuff like that, but nothing like, you know, go away in May and stuff like that. Definitely not. It's still a 24/7 market. The whole market's seen 20-30% volumes wiped off. All the big firms are firing people and laying off just to, you know, maintain the winter. And yeah, we're definitely seeing the same. We haven't had to do a mass let go yet. We still have a good runway, but you know, we're definitely looking at like, we're not looking to grow the team at all at the moment. Definitely not. Definitely in a little bit of a conservative mode, but we're actually at the end of a project merge where we've been working for 10 months on our new platform and it's kind of ready to launch. And we're doing the same thing we did in 2018. We're launching stuff in August in a bear market. You know,
well, it's the best time to do it. You know what they say, you know, make and sell ice cream in the
just get it out there. And we had to do, you know, actually we did a couple of surveys, a couple of polls, and some people complained that we weren't transparent about our position in the current market. And I didn't really know why we needed to be transparent, because we don't do leverage because we're FCA registered in the UK. The FCA has got no sense of humor when it comes to leverage, so we can't do it. And we don't do lending, not even our own funds, especially not our client funds. But they thought we were being very shaky and non-transparent about it, i.e. we've not said anything because there's nothing to say. So I put out a very big long email, 2,000-3,000 words over Friday I did it, and got some really, really good feedback from that. You know, we are looking to add staking, and that's something we've been talking about for a while. And people are like, oh, that's really, really high risk. It's like, well, actually it's completely different from lending. Lending is a black box. Lending is a loan. It's an unsecured peer-to-peer loan, or P2B loan, whereas staking, it's on chain. You know, we're looking at on-chain rates. Sure, CoinPass takes a cut of that. You could do it all yourself, but we're making it a one-click. We take out the gas fees, blah, blah, blah. And some people are like, oh, that puts your company at risk doing staking. You know, no, it doesn't, because you have to opt in. The funds get moved. They go into our nodes that are all secured on Fireblocks, et cetera, et cetera. And we had to kind of almost do a blog series and an educational piece. Interesting. Staking and lending is completely different. And so, yeah, it's been interesting.
Depends how you use the funds, isn't it? Because if you put your funds in the UST and the Terra, then you're going to get.
No, yeah, of course, yeah, but again, that's not staking. That's DeFi. That's a
Yeah,
wallet
but-
connecting to DeFi. It's completely
Okay, I
different from
understand.
stake. It's like staking Polkadot and staking Cardano and staking Solana. That's the initial offering. If we want to do other market making stuff later, that will be a different product. We may even, coordinate off to professional investors only. We may have an
Yes,
extra
yeah, but if
declaration.
somebody comes and stake
Yeah.
on your products, yeah, you have to
Yeah.
give them some interest back, right, or whatever you want.
Oh no, of course, yeah. Let's say
So-
Polkadot. Let's say
so do
Polkadot
I-
pays 10%. We'll offer 9.
Okay. Now I
So
get it.
we're going
But
with
you have to-
blockchain
you
rewards.
have-
We're going blockchain
and then you have
reward
to
rewards.
stake it somewhere else, right? And
No,
that's how you make the margin.
we stake directly on chain with our
Yeah.
node, with our Polkadot node.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's how it's completely different lending. We're not making investment decisions. We're not doing.
Now I
We
get
did
it.
anything like
Okay.
that, we get flogged for
You
collective
minimize the
investment.
risk. You
Yeah, like
minimize the
we weren't even like, I'm trying to build a wait list right now because we don't want to start day one with nothing in the Polkadot pool. So we've got our own collateral. Coinbase has Polkadot positions. It started off as our hot wallet, and that was day one. And obviously we've built our treasury over time in Polkadot. So Coinbase on our balance sheet is staking right now our own funds for rewards, and obviously to get the testing and all that kind of all the calculations done. But we're not staking any of our user funds in advance because that comes out of collective investment. We'll get flogged by not only the FCA, anyone else who wants to take it.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a bonding and unbonding period of about a day. So you want to say, yep, I want to put up 20 DOT. It takes a day for us to move it into place and start generating the income. Obviously, we're going to do it twice a day, but that's a behind the scenes thing. But basically, it means we're never shortchanging the customer and we're never putting our balance sheet at risk. And those are just two very boring, operational procedures we have to do. You offer it instantly and you start breaking the rules on the blockchain. Well, then, yeah, it does put risk on our balance sheet. That's something we don't want to do right now. And that's obviously we're learning all this stuff that's being done very, very dodgily.
No, but that sounds really sensible, that approach, Jeff.
It's,
When's
it's,
the new
it's sensing,
platform?
it's sensing
live?
sensible and boring, but
No, it means you're going to be in business for a while.
I hope
Which is
so.
great. When's the new platform? Live? That's quite exciting.
We're pitching for August 1st to 5th at this point, that week. One of them in there. We obviously got a lot of testing going on at the moment. It's because we're launching the mobile app and the web at the same time. So there's obviously a lot of complexity on that. We've got Android. Android's fine. Android don't really care what you put on that platform. Apple, because the code base is like 6 times the size, it's probably going to take at least 2 weeks for it to get approved. So if we don't get it in this week, we're going to have to push. Web is looking pretty good. Still doing some UI tweaks, some loading speed kind of stuff. We're holding back on a few screens to do like some advanced portfolio calculations and stuff. But it'll be good. It's kind of splitting away from that 2-product thing, which is something you say about FUD, like the whole Coinbase FUD at the moment. Oh, they're getting rid of Coinbase Pro. They're going to be insolvent in 5 weeks. Blah, blah. No, they're going down to a single product, the same as us. You will still be able to do limit orders on Coinbase. They just don't want to have 2 platforms anymore. They want to bring it into one. So when you forget to do a limit order and you press market, you're going to pay 3% for it instead of 50 bips. That's what they're doing. It's very easy. But for us, we had a simple product and an advanced product. We didn't anticipate so many people moving over there. And then once they moved over, they go, oh, I really like the simple dashboard. Can I have that back, please?
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh shit, okay, we'll put them together. So it was a little bit of revenue protection for us at the beginning, but now it's like, no, the product has to be all in one. It needs a big UI update. It needs a lot of other things. And that's why we're like, okay, we're going to stop on the current products. We'll keep maintaining them, obviously, that we have been. But we've been pushing really hard the last 10 months on Project Grogu, which is the name internally. Yes, Star Wars. When our CTO had to say that name in a board meeting, he was a bit embarrassed, but obviously then he explained it a bit and it was cool. So it just kind of stuck.
I don't want this just to be the Jeff interview, but Jeff, what's your relationship like with the FCA these days? And have they improved the caliber of people on their side yet?
Interesting. I've delegated a lot of that off to my compliance officer because, I mean, when he came on, he actually solved a really, really, really big problem in the business, which was our case officer during our FCA application, for some reason, put my name down as MLRO. So I've been MLRO for like 3 years, which is a problem because I'm not an MLRO ever. So he came in and fixed a lot of stuff. He's been front loading a lot of questions back and forth. It's mostly around the biggest back and forth we had with them when we wanted to do stable coins, because they were like, oh, someone's going to regulate it in a year, so you can kind of do it now if you get a legal opinion, and blah 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 blah. Got it done. But we've probably had more back and forth with Crypto UK and the FCA Sprint, and maybe
I
some of the lobbying that's going on with some of the MPs
Yeah.
around this whole UK is going to be crypto island. I'm like, cool. How are we going to do it, bro? And I haven't answered the question yet. So they're working on it. But I mean, our relationship with them is obviously still very healthy because registered, we keep up a rapport with them. Our recipe hasn't changed that much in the last kind of 12 months, apart from stablecoins, which they were.
But what about the caliber of people on their side?
Caliber people, we were one of the lucky ones. I've talked with Jamie from Solidity and a couple other guys doing their license. I think we were the only ones that had the same case officer for the full year and a half. I think we were the only one. We had a lady named Mina the whole time, which was amazing when I heard some of the other ones had like 5 case officers, which is mental. I see some other ones trying to go through the pipeline now. And I could easily say it'll be 2 years before you see anyone else on that list. Revolut is still on the temporary register. But if they don't get on it, they can easily pivot pretty quickly to kind of resolve that.
Makes me want to get politically active again. But
yeah, it is weird. I'm not a political person at all, and I've been to House of Commons like 3 times now for various events because I sit really on the retail side. The institutional side, there are way more people more experienced than me to answer all that stuff. But on the retail side, there's, I'm basically telling them that you guys are doing nothing to protect anyone. They will send their funds offshore, and UK banks will continue to ban them. If they move through our platform into crypto, all the banks know that we're doing our job properly. We actually have a great rapport with Barclays and NatWest. We don't talk to them every single day, but when we talk to them and they have a problem or they have an account or blah, 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 their compliance teams are actually, they're not unpro crypto, they're still unpro money laundering, So
that's a fair approach. I can live with that approach.
Yeah,
it's the blanket, not here.
It's the blanket not here, which doesn't help. And I think they're starting to realize that people are going to find a way to go around it no matter what. They're not collecting any tax revenue from us from not getting more business, and people will always find a way. It's like Jurassic Park. So it's.
Great partial feedback in that there's pockets of excellence.
There's pockets there. There are pockets there that are bullish, but there's still some that are just like, my constituents don't get this. And I said, well, you need to educate your constituents, or let me do it.
The problem with some of the education piece, though, because you probably saw it with the Science Technology Committee meeting, was it 2 weeks ago now? I think JT was on it as well. You listen to the anti-lobby that is clearly getting a voice right now, and they're being so adversely, but beyond just sensibly critical, just totally dismissive. And it's like, can we please move on from crypto being just for money laundering and criminals?
It's just old conversation. It's old, I mean, I did sit in one after Crypto AM a couple of weeks ago, and I managed to go with Balbear over to House of Commons to sit on a blockchain. And
I was there.
You were there as well. I know you were there. I saw it. I was going to give you a wave, but it was highly inappropriate to wave in that room. And nothing. Richard did well. He's always been a really good positive voice, but it was like, we were talking about this stuff 3 years ago, bro. Like, come on. And I left because I'm getting zero from it. We can't film, so my videographers, they're getting paid by the hour doing nothing. But it was just, it's old stuff. We're still talking about energy. We're still talking about this garbage that it doesn't do anything.
I think my comment was that Lord Hunt and his dog probably knew more than most of the people in the room.
We've got a Lord on the platform at the moment. I can't tell you where he's from, but he has a lot of farms and actually about 3 containers worth of mining rigs, and we do all these on and off ramp for him. And he's an absolute champ. Like, we've asked him like 2 or 3 because we could. He's pep and sanctions. He's a politically exposed person. He's a lord with like 60,000 acres of land, or so, I don't know. But I had to come up.
Were you the MLRO that onboarded him?
No, I didn't have to do this one. I get sent the cool ones, like, oh, you should catch up with this person, and like, I talked with his office first, and then they go, well, we need to do this of the actual person. He came on a call. He was cheery. I think he was very, very diversified, but he knew his stuff. Very, very smart cookie. Was definitely pro trying something new. He was setting up a lot of renewable energy stuff. He's mining Ethereum, mining altcoins. Needs an exit for some of it. He's training his staff. He wanted a solid UK partner. He looked up the business. He knew exactly who I was. Felt a bit starstruck, but it was cool. And
well done for professionally onboarding a PEP. As you know, that's what Revolut completely fell over recently by switching off the PEP machine.
The other one was Southampton Football Club, which I haven't managed to get in touch with him yet. because of the compliance officer, oh, we got Southampton signed up as well.
That's a win.
I went, someone at Southampton. He's like, no, the financial officer. I went, oh, okay, big deal. He works there. Like, no, he onboarded the football club as an entity. Club. And I went, oh, mental. Wow. Let's go. Let's go. I haven't got him on email yet, so which is funny because they're sponsored by eToro. So I did think that was quite interesting.
That is. I mean, definitely,
that
when you do get through to them, that's the sort of person we want to put on stage and shine a light on, because that's the thinking we want. Oh, awesome.
Yeah. No, so it's interesting. It's an interesting market, even though, you know, price irrelevance, there is, you know, really sophisticated conversations going on and people looking at this asset class and looking for the right way in and the right way out. They're not the 100, 200 pound kind of buyer, which will obviously be taken care of. They're the more sophisticated ones that are literally trying to maintain pace with fintech and with investment. You know, they're trying to keep their options open, and I think that's a really, really healthy place to be. That's what they're not encouraging in the UK.
Gary, did you guys discuss Solend and the proposal to take over the Wales wallet because of destabilized Solana last week? It was about a few weeks ago. Did you guys discuss that on one of your Sundays?
No, I don't think we did, because there's been so many. It's practically like every week there's a major news type thing. You know, as Jeff said, you know, one week it's 3 Arrows, next week it's Vanguard or Celcius or whatever type thing. I think that one just got dropped in the mix. So go on, share with us, Eric. Tell us all about it.
Well, I don't know all about it, except that it was the antithesis of decentralization for a purportedly decentralized. So it was a lender, wasn't it? Solend on Solana that literally sent in a proposal because of the price dropping like a stone, put a proposal in to take over, to control one of their Wales wallets in a Cyprus kind of way, or Greek kind of way.
You need a haircut.
Jesus, I mean, it was just pretty horrendous. I mean, it was passed with 97%, but I think that was saved because the price stabilized.
It was it was about the liquidation point, wasn't it? Because he had a huge amount. He had all the capital locked up. He had a huge amount of stablecoin issue, and they wanted to change the liquidation price on the contract. And that's where I think the story gets a bit. Yeah, they were going to control the wallet or not take the funds out of it, but basically, if this whale is wiped out,
they were going to just OTC it, control it, right?
Yeah, they were going to. Well, yeah, they were going to OTC some of the funds in order to save it, but it was around that liquidation price. If that wallet was liquidated on the smart contract.
What do you think about that? What do you got? I mean. Fernando, JT, what do you think about that?
In one way, it's amazing.
In one way, it's amazing.
In another way, it's terrifying, bro. Like
it's horrific that they considered it, but it's excellent that they were public about it. You know, I mean, at least that's something that if they put it to the vote.
You know, Gary, I'm going to quote you tomorrow. That is awesome. Thank you. That is the best spin I could get on that.
You know, the thing that really worries me now is I'm going to have to look at the recording of what it is I just said.
No, it was great. It was great because we knew about it, right? Because it was public, because it was a public vote. Yep. If this was done by a centralized organization, you wouldn't know about it. Your bank account would be controlled and taken over, as has happened. So,
and these are the only way you hear about any like the Bitfinex one and stuff. It gets put out in a PR release. Our Bitfinex has liquidated Celcius for X. So we've liquidated Celcius risk free. I'm like, good for you. What about everyone else? Like,
yeah, exactly. Well, no, it's just it just shows me that the decentralized world that hopes for essentially less systemic risk due to decentralization. This is Hayek versus Keynes, basically. Is we've got a little way to go. We're on the lower slopes, I would say.
Does that show that particular network's quite small or quite connected?
Yeah. Good question.
Was there one group that had more voting power than the rest, like a group within a group?
It was. I can't remember the numbers on it. I was talking. Philosophically. Yeah.
Because what we see with some of these protocols or tokens that go through any kind of VC round, they take a very large amount of tokens, which can, when it comes to a DAO, have a huge amount of voting power. So was it something like that voting power that was very community driven and ICO era levels of spread out, or was it one of those, well, there's a VC that has 35% of the tokens, they could probably sway any vote that they wanted to. So is that a decentralized DAO?
Well, it's probably something that I keep arguing that where we are at the moment is still an experimental zone. We're still learning and developing and building this stuff out. And so, as with any experiment, some are going to be successful and some are going to lead to unexpected consequences. It's a bit like, I remember I went to a talk Elon Musk gave a few years ago about SpaceX, and he was saying, the whole thing about rockets design and rocket building is that you're going to lose the odd rocket. He said you just have to make sure you don't lose too many of them.
But Gary, this is the same guy that said make it more pointy.
Yeah.
Because of Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Or he's like, I want to die on Mars, but not on impact. So you kind of have to take some of his stuff.
Yeah.
50-50.
He says a lot of it tongue in cheek.
Don't get me wrong, he's brilliant,
Yeah.
but there is some stuff where you've got to like take a little bit of a step back, and he is his own character. But he is, I don't know how he does what he does. I don't know what's going on in his mind and how he does 3 companies what he does.
But coming back to Eric's broader points, that for me it shows that this is just a series of experiments.
Yeah.
And in that case, that experiment proved that that particular network may not be as decentralized as it needs to be.
Oh, now, as well as the outages, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I think all this stuff is. I keep describing this marketplace as being like the aviation industry. We've just left. We're probably up to about Louis Blériot now in 1911. But if you look about how airplanes design and evolve, an engineer comes along and said, "Oh, I've got this great idea. We'll build an airplane with 3 wings." And you get some poor soul to go on it takes off and it crashes, and there's blood, carnage, devastation, and litigation usually. And then the regulators come in and they improve it, and then they go away and the engineers come up with another idea.
The same as the auto industry. There used to be like 250 different car companies during the US, and that big, well, what does a seatbelt should be? How wide should a road be? What should the infrastructure be? All of that stuff was just so up in the air. And there's a really good series I watched a while ago. I'm looking to watch it again, actually. It was like American Industry or something like that, and it was this 10-part series, and it was like Rockefeller and Carnegie and all these guys, and how disorganized those markets were and how they were able to innovate with essentially nothing. And it's quite amazing what they came out with, and all that stuff is exactly what we're going through now. Railways and gauges and buying stuff up and shutting stuff down and controlling, monopolizing some markets. And we're seeing what Sam's doing with FTX now, buying up all these companies at fire sale rates. And someone said in the chat the other day, "Oh, that's just another big bubble. You've got one major player that could completely collapse." Like, well, they're very well funded with a lot of investors behind them, and they're buying at fire sale prices. So they're probably hedging most of their bets right now. Don't think they're going to fold, but they're very Rockefeller-ish during that period.
I was going to say that's the thing, that you get the odd Howard Hughes in the market, don't you? Who comes up with some crazy ideas, but manages to get a phenomenal amount of funding. And makes the impossible happen, which is fantastic. That's innovation for you. And
that's why we're here, and we've seen these things come and go through ICO and then through DeFi and then NFT and what's next. I'm keen to see what's next, because my brain can't go outside of what we've got right now.
I think it's going to be more exciting.
The thing about all of this that you guys are talking about is that if it was only that would be great, isn't it? The problem is the 3 CROs of this world, is the SBFs with their leverage. I think the problem is all the leverage that is happening, because
completely agree.
Nexo, you name it, all these guys are the ones who are going to drag these into potentially a total disruption, but in the wrong way, and that's what it worries me a lot. Is all of these players are going out there as just, it's greediness. It's really just greediness, nothing else.
And I think that, well, if we're going to talk future trend stuff, what's going to be the next big thing? I think where Nexo and Celcius and that have done very, very well, they catered to a huge audience of very fatigued crypto investors. Post ICO, DeFi kind of had a little bit of a run. A lot of those, smart contract hacks came around and wiped. Here's a platform that's got some licenses, that's well funded, that'll give me 5%. Good enough. I can sit back and work on my project and whatever. And they, for about a year and a half, that was the trend. Everyone wanted interest, everyone wanted yield, didn't really care how it was coming. And it was a lazy investor mentality. And a lot of new people that came in well, if I'm not getting 5% yield, then why would I bother? So it was kind of like you're catering to existing people, and then new people is the new paradigm. And now you just kind of build a bigger bubble, like you say, on very cheap free leverage.
Yeah, and the problem is that it starts to really become a zero-sum game, you know, and that's huge problem, because you know, the usual guys are going to continue, and Gary and I were listening to all of those people talking bad about crypto and blockchain, and they're going to come back and say, you see, everything's failed, you know, all these experimentations are failing. It's because exactly those players are the ones actually causing those problems, you know. And that is that's why I think I'm a really true believer now that regulation is needed, you know. And I think it's those same players that don't want to implement those regulations, because with regulations you see the very big players coming in, like Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Google, they will all come in very big on this, you know.
Apple's looking to be a bank now. I mean, I thought that was going to be 3 years ago. When Apple's a bank, they're going to get everyone that's like, well, I love the ecosystem. Now I also get this for free. That's just another add-on. You know, Apple's going to do cars. They'll do brilliant cars. You just know they will.
I mean, they'll take over the space, and that's what I think it's needed now, is that regulation drives adoption, isn't it? And we need regulation urgently. And this is what really makes me angry, is that we got someone at the head of the Bank of England, that is total anti-crypto, and when he left the FCA, he put his second or his third in command to take care of the FCA, so they all kind of the same mindset. It's going to be hard to break all of those walls, you know, absolutely hard.
So being squeaky clean is the only thing you can do, but unfortunately squeaky clean in crypto doesn't sell.
I was going to quickly ask, got a question that actually came in from someone who isn't on the call, but actually said, can you ask this question for me? And you were kind of mentioning it between you before about Celcius. Does anyone know what the actual state is at the moment in terms of the investors in Celcius? Any news on that? No.
Right. I know someone inside of Celcius, but they're not going to whistleblow.
I know someone in Dubai that has been dealing with this for 4 weeks. Man, I can't comment at all, you know. But the bankruptcy has been prepared already for 4 weeks. Put it that way.
So certainly it's something that could take a while. Yeah. Which okay, cool. Look, we've only got 8 minutes left. The day has flown by. I wanted to check, particularly for those who've been quiet on the call today. And quiet's fine. You know, listen in, learn. Like that's good. Any particular questions or any particular thoughts or anything that you'd like to ask or share in any way? Go on, Adam.
Okay, I'll throw a question out there. As some of you may or may not know, I'm researching NFTs at the moment, and it started off as a sort of self-made documentary. It's sort of evolving more into a mockumentary.
Well, Adam, with NFT London, you can apply for a nice speaking slot about that, you know.
Go on, Adam. Adam, what's the question?
The question is, like, who should I be speaking to? Who can actually explain this space?
On camera, yeah.
Really simply.
Sunday crypto. I've turned the camera off. What's up?
So what was the question?
No, I think.
Is that
Jeff,
okay?
There we go. We'll pop Jeff on mute so he can carry on his conversation.
Well done, thank you, Gary.
There you go. There's the power of moderation. Whether it's what's up, Telegram or Zoom, I'm your man. Adam, it really depends upon what questions are you looking to get answered in some way.
Well, it's a simple goal. I want to find out for people outside of the space. That's really who I'm doing this for, because I speak to a lot of artists, a lot of creatives, a lot of filmmakers. They're on the fundraising journey, and I just see them completely mess up. The analogy I use watching creatives pitch for funding, it's a bit like the car salesman trying to sell the engine. They want to talk about the creation and what it's all about, and all the investor wants to know is the numbers, the distribution, the database, the user base, the following, you know, all of the things that would ensure that it made money. And I've now found out that creatives can use NFTs to fundraise.
Mhm.
a bit like,
Ooh.
from what I understand, reward-based crowdfunding. And so
Or
that
pre-sale
space-
up.
that's the space I'm researching at the moment. I want to take a company, I want to follow their journey from knowing nothing, and I know plenty of those, to finding out how it works and getting their own NFTs on there and getting them funded. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. And if there's any platforms or people that facilitate that easily for people outside of the space, I definitely would appreciate an introduction.
So Eric, you're the man who immediately comes to mind about this kind of stuff. Any thoughts to share with Adam?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think where to start. The problem is with the platforms, right, is that most of them are not fair to the creators, and so and that's the issue I have with them at the moment. And when you think about the venues where creators can achieve revenue, I would say no. I can't recommend anything at the moment, but I do have somebody on the team who is a rock star about this and fully up to speed, so I can happily ask her and feed back to you. I like what you're going to cover, though. I think that's very interesting. So
I was going to say the same thing. I'd love to talk about it a bit more on like a podcast or something, the actual journey that you're planning out to and where you are so far, and maybe make it a 2 or 3 parter. That'd be awesome. I'd love to hear more about it.
I can suggest someone for you to talk with, Adam. Veza, you know Veza?
No.
So Veza.
The artist.
Oh, Veza, the
definitely.
artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know Veza since 2017. When
I'm
I
uncultured.
saw
I
him
don't know anyone.
at the conference, you know, where the first paint that he did, it was exposing was just a Bitcoin paint that he created, you know. So he has been through the journey right from the beginning, right to the point where he's doing all sorts of collaborations with someone in Dubai, with Dr. Marwan, and Dr. Marwan has a big collection of cars, you know. So the NFT with, you know, his creative with NFT, the cars, and I mean, he has been doing a lot of this in this space. So I think it could give you some really good insights, and actually to introduce you to a few other people that he knows, you know, that has been doing a lot of stuff in this space, right? From the view of the creator and how much exposure they are getting and what are the benefits that they are getting from all of this. And I think he can give you some very, very good insights. And someone else that could give you this is Soifira. She's the largest, I think she's the South American largest NFT creator or something like that, with more followers, whatever. I can introduce you to her as well, because they both of these artists have been right from beginning to the other end, where they are becoming very successful and getting some exposure for all of these. You know?
And Toby would be a good chance.
Yeah, I was about to say Toby from Novum.
What about, are you connected with Annie Alexander, NFT Rebel?
No, I mean,
she's very good.
I'm venturing in with the Idiot's Guide. I mean, I've actually put together a makeshift start of a documentary. I went to the Proof of People event in London and went behind the scenes with Balbear, and that's always entertaining. So if anyone wants to sort of, I've not put it out on a public link yet, and I'm not going to, because I want to get everyone's permission, but certainly the people that I'm taking the piss out of, which is mainly me, just so that you know.
That's fine.
And one critical component, I really appreciate all the offers of intros. This can't be underestimated enough. They have to have a sense of humor, because remember,
you have to. I mean, it's crypto.
Very tongue in cheek, and if they go too technical, I'm going to absolutely.
Adam, drop me a link on LinkedIn, and I'll swap some contacts with you, and we can help figure out a plan. Because I don't do a lot of NFT stuff, but I know a lot of NFT people. And I'm going to rack my brain over email a bit later. But there was a platform that I talked to in Manchester, and theirs was a NFT. They're purely for distribution. So they would do commission artworks of, like, say 10 to 15 pieces, but they pre-sell 15 NFTs. So you get an NFT, you pay for it in ETH, but they actually paint 15 physical copies. They were using it for distribution. It was a way to get paid before making it, and that's how they're all making a living. They don't really care about the digital stuff, but the collector's getting a physical piece and a digital item. So if I could find that in my inbox, I'll send it to you on LinkedIn, and you can connect with them as well.
I really appreciate this.
No,
guys.
my pleasure. My pleasure.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm happy to talk to any of you if you think you know the space or you want to have a laugh or just find out what's going on. But
Adam, I hope you can monetize this. Can you? I mean, are you going to get anyone to sponsor it or buy it, or are you going to sell it to any network or what?
that's a really good question, Eric. And there's another sub agenda that's come out of this. I mean, I started this. I was going to do research anyway. So what I'm doing now, I was going to do anyway.
Fair enough.
For my own reference, so I don't expect anything for it. I was going to do it. I'm already invested in, and I see so many creatives. They won't get started. They've got a project, and it's like, give me the funding, and I can get going. So by doing this mockumentary with my cell phone only, that's it. It's really sending out a message to every other creative. You don't.
Well, I think you're exactly the right character to rip the arse out of the. Sorry, for helpfully, politely dig them in the ribs. Sorry.
It's a good relatable piece, because if you're taking it from a nobody perspective, you can relate to more of an audience. We had a blogger or a journalist or something like that who wanted to do his first year in crypto with us. He's like, can I do 4 blog articles and a podcast to put it on your website? I'm like, yeah, free content. And he went from buying his first 100 pounds of ETH and 100 pounds of Bitcoin and rolling them into a lot of shit coins. And the big thing for him is him and his mate have a very morbid pot. Every month they put $5 each into this pot. They've been growing it for about 10 years. And whoever dies first, the pot pays for the wake. And I went, mate, that's dark. So we decided to put the pot into crypto, and we'll go and do this and have a whole journey. Now the pot's like 6.5K. So they did it in a bull market, which is good. But it was the same thing. It was grassroots, never touched it before, took all the emotion out of it. It was all learning. And yeah, it was some of our best content we've done on our platform.
That's a great story, Jeff. I love that story.
It starts a bit dark, but it gets better.
Well, as long as you get the dark out the way early.
Get that out of the way first. That's where the story starts.
Story.
Yeah.
So on that basis, then we're going to leave on a high note. That we'll leave with a positive, which is great. Adam, the other thing as well is if you want to reach out through any of my groups, feel free to construct a note asking for help. It's what I'm all about as well. And to everyone who's been on the call today, thanks for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your contributions, folks.
And thank you, Gary.
As always.
A lot of water, guys.
Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Have a great day. I normally say go and wash your hands, but now I'll say go and have a glass of water.
Or wine.
Have a great one, folks. Bye for now.
Cheers, folks.